already said. So, Khun Prinn, what is your perspective for next year?
First of all, sincere apologies for getting here late. I was meant to be here almost an hour ago, but there's a couple of issues which also concern China and Thailand relations at the Parliament today, or one of the committee that I'm on. But I think there's a lot of potential excitement that you can be excited about the opportunities that Thailand and China can work together. But I want to be realistic as well. I'm come from a background where I trained my economics in London, in Europe. I work for a French bank and French investment banking company, Credit Lyonnais CLSA, which was later taken over by a Chinese state-owned enterprise, a conglomerate called the CITIC Group, CITIC, not a Citibank, but a CITIC Group. And working for CITIC for the last 5 to 6 to 7 years have made me learn a lot more. Even though I've never grown up in China, I've got a few friends who have grown up, live, work, study in China, and they probably can claim to be truly know the inside out of the Chinese governments and whatnot. But having worked for Chinese governments, because CITIC is Chinese government, CITIC is owned by Ministry of Finance, having worked for them and having understand the psyche, the way the Chinese think about outbound investment and the strategy that they have, often makes me both very excited, as Dr. Kobsak has brilliantly pointed out about the opportunities of Thailand offers as a great destination. And we've been on a roadshow together before. I hear Dr. Kobsak put a brilliant pitch on why Thailand is the destination, and I have no doubt. I mean, we are handsome, we are beautiful. Oh, no, beautiful. Sorry, we are beautiful. We are beautiful. I was going to say beautiful from the panel. No ladies, but we are good looking. We are good looking, and truly the Thailand 4.0 as the opportunity for me. If we look at the other way, Thailand 0.4 is the opportunity, and why is attracting foreign direct investment. What do I mean by 0.4? When I say 0.4, I look at the true strengths of this country: the culture, the traditional, the empathy, the compassion, the smile, the way that people have these social fabrics and networks among the Thais that makes this country so livable, that makes the country have its own internal, the word Boonklinhom, which is, what's the English? Immunity, or the immune, the way we build our own social fabrics. And people who come and live here, I think, appreciate, enjoys this 0.4 strength of Thailand. We must not forget that. Yes, the world is moving so fast, and sometimes things are going so fast that sometimes the pace of development, the pace of technology advancement often cause panic among businessmen, governments, and even various society. I tell you, slow down. I'm from a new generation, yes, I'm Kon Run Mai. I'm only 43 years old, 42, 43. But I think we're going too fast in some ways. For me, you guys should read a book. Thank You for Being Late. Remember that. Thank You for Being Late. And this book makes us appreciate our strengths and why we should be attracting the right kind of investment, the right kind of investor. We can choose. We're the one who's going to choose. We're not going to let the foreign investor who come in and pick and choose us. I'm not being in a negative way towards any particular country. It could be the US, it could be China, it could be Japan, it could be Korea, India. There are new world economic powers who are coming up, and China is one of them. But with that new economic power will come with a lot of potential tension, will come with a lot of responsibility on China's part. Thailand itself, I think we have to know our standing and our position. We're definitely not the world's economic superpower, but we are one of the superpowers within the Greater Mekong sub-region, the GMS, in the geographical strength that we have. So I think, first of all, we need to realize that next year will not be easy for anyone. It's actually, funny enough, will be easier a little bit for Thailand. As you probably know, it's actually Thailand will be another year of potential safe haven, if you want to use that term for investment. But if you want to put it another way, there'll be a lot of troubles in this world. And most of the trouble will likely be elsewhere and not in Thailand. So hopefully politics will not take the street show next year. But if there's no politics on the street, Thailand will actually do just fine. And the relative strength of Thai baht, the next year, when you ask about next year, why they attract foreign investment and Chinese firms, and CITIC as well, Chinese firms, when they look at Thailand, they look at, yes, on a longer term basis, that people actually like coming to Thailand, likes being here. But we have to also think about that next year will be the year where the currency, like Thai currency, assets in Thailand will continue to appreciate in value. And that should not be the weakness. That should not be a concern that I hear from exporters, from government officials, from central bankers who are getting too excited about currency strength. Thailand currency is not too strong. It is too weak. And we have to get out of this mindset that we think about a trap, that we're not going to move up the value chain. You use the currency strength to your benefit. You go and buy technology in China. There are great firms in China who have artificial intelligence, who have data analytics, who has Internet of Things, who has 5G. There are great technologies in China. You partner with them. You form a partnership. You buy, you sell. I mean, Chinese firms want to buy everything in Thailand. I appreciate that. You know, I've seen a few firms who comes to Thailand, want to take over, want to form a strategic alliance. But we have to hold our strengths, and we have to also be mindful that our strength and the currency strength, use that to our advantage in buying technology, buying partnership, forming a higher value add industry, build brands, marketing strategy. There are things that Thailand can do next year that I think will be very exciting.
A couple of questions. First of all, we heard from Dr. Kobsak that next year we may benefit from factory relocation as a result of the trade war. I think you share that opinion. Export will be going down a little bit.
Actually,
tourism, yeah, please.
Next year export should come back up. I mean, okay, nobody can say with certainty how Trump and Xi Jinping will play out. But if you're a gambler, a betting man, would you bet that Donald Trump will run the US presidential election next year on the back of a ticket that will continue to beat up China and promote that to his supporter base, be a China beater, like he did in the last election? He called Chinese a currency manipulator. He called Chinese they take over the deficit, the trade deficit over America, which was like $400 billion of deficit. Would he run on a beating China ticket, or would he run as a president that struck the best deal that any American president has ever done with China? My guess is to be the second one, because Trump knows that he wants to avoid recession in the presidential election year. In order to do that, if he fights with China for too long, there could be troubles down the line for his own country, not for China. China will do fine. They have many tools that they won't have a recession in China. But US may have a recession ahead of a presidential election. So therefore, for me, it will be an environment where I think there will be a export incremental improvement from a low base of this year. Plus, there will also be efforts that I think there will be pickup in petrochemical prices, in some farm prices. So the value of trade should at least incrementally improve. And both the Ministry of Finance, the Dr. Kobsak team, our team at the Ministry of Commerce have been working very hard at opening new markets. You are going to see new free trade agreement begin negotiation next year with EU, European Union, with UK, once they sort out their Brexit issue. You're going to see the beginning with Turkey, which is another big, growing, emerging market. The Deputy Prime Minister, Jurin, and Trade Minister has been to China 3 times already this year, in the last 7 months that he's been in the job. He will go more to China. He's been to India twice. He's going again early next year. So there are new markets, emerging markets, new provincial monton that we can struck MOU or deals that they could take on more Thai agricultural products. So export could do better than expected. And for us, there's no economic crisis. There is no crazy stuff that could see elsewhere in the world.
Okay, I'll ask Khun Kobsidthi. Please jump in. We have Khun Kobsak.
Well, I mean, like why do we wear a seatbelt when we get into a car, right? We hope we don't have an accident, but we put on a seatbelt just in case of an accident. So I think, what we said earlier about Trump, the other thing that we might have not touched on was the impeachment process. Trump is becoming more and more concerned that the probability that the market is beginning to price in that Trump might actually lose his presidency before the election is almost like 90%. You can go and look at some websites called Predicted, and these are what I guess hedge fund people are, they're gambling that the probability that Trump could lose his presidency within the first term. So when you factor that in, I would imagine that the Communist Party would say, hey, let's not give up so much yet. let's see who's going to become the next president, because we might have to revise everything all over again. So I think I still stand by that the trade war, we're going to have a ceasefire in a sort of a way, a truce, but not a total re-overhaul or a new deal yet, because I think it's contingent on the elections. So maybe after November 2020, maybe then the Chinese will make more and more concessions. That would how I would read it. The other thing that I think we have to keep an eye on in terms of the U.S. cabinet. How many people know who Peter Navarro is? Do you know who Peter Navarro is? Have a look on YouTube, because he's still in this cabinet. Steve Bannon has gone away. These are right-wing people. So if you want to see what Trump's going to do, look at his advisors. As long as Peter Navarro is still in the cabinet, and Peter Navarro has done, I think, at least six series of documentary about the 9-dash line and whatnot. It's not just because of economics, it's about geopolitics. It's about the South China Sea, as we were talking about earlier, because eventually, as Dr. Panitan was saying, that there's been so many close calls. I think the most recent one was an aircraft, a P3 Orion. I can't remember the Chinese version. They almost crashed into one another, and that's that's like a seatbelt situation where we can actually trigger some kind of situation where it actually gets out of hand. So coming back to your question again, is that it's difficult to call a trade war, how it's going to pan out, but when you have uncertainty, this is what I kind of fear, is that when you have uncertainty, which is a risk premium, people are going to be more cautious in terms of investing. I totally agree that this is an opportunity for us if we can convince foreigners that Thailand is a place to be. But be careful about Vietnam. Vietnam is coming up and continues to rise. Did you know that their market share, export market share, has already exceeded that of Thailand? It's 1.5% of the world export market share. Thailand is at 1.4. This did not happen overnight. When they say Rome was not built in one day, because this was a situation where after 2011, when we had the floods, Vietnam's market share, export market share, started to increase because there was relocation. Because we've been on the receiving end also, that a lot of people relocated to Vietnam. So hopefully, maybe a lot of people will relocate back to from China to Thailand. But we need to encourage and instill confidence that 2011 will never happen again. This is something that I think is very pivotal to get confidence back up into our country. The other thing, which I know I might say a lot, there's a lot of issues that we need to talk about. Cutting interest rates, coming back to my earlier point, was that yes, cutting interest rates might help, but remember, the issue that we're facing is a supply side problem. So I came up with a couple of suggestions. One is really we need to invest in infrastructure, but not just logistics, but irrigation, so that we can make the land more productive, increase the productivity of 1/3 of our workforce, and that will increase farm income. You get farm income up, you get a better economy, because 1 in 3 people who are working are farmers. 2, improve the language skills. We've seen the stories where Thailand's language skills has deteriorated for the past several years already. Why don't we change the opportunity or the strength that we have into another strength? Thai tourist people like to come here. I would probably like to dub tourists as teachers. It's not just English. Why don't we get our embassies in the UK, in the US, sponsor kids who just came out of high school, come over to Thailand for a vacation, teach 3 days, go for a vacation 4 days. And you get the conversational transfer to Thai kids. They're the same generation. There is no generation gap, a teacher like 30, 40, teaching somebody who's at 13. So, maybe get Chinese tourists, have them sponsored, a homestay kind of a thing. You go to Ma Hong Son, you do your tourism for 4 days, teach for 3 days, It's a win-win situation. That's what I would want to encourage. The other thing also for long-term purposes, we need to integrate between the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Labor, because I think we are looking at objectives in a piecemeal situation. Ministry of Education is only concerned of people graduating, and then the Ministry of Labor is concerned that people have a job. But at the end of the day, because my daughter is in Chulalongkorn in the first year, my concern would be not just because, I hope that she just graduates, I hope she has a job. So we need to integrate these two ministries to say we need to treat humans or Thais as a human resource, not just as a student or somebody in the factory. So this is a long-term plan that needs to be fixed. The other thing that I mentioned about was not having children. Every time, if you look at the, in Thai, Pongado 91, what is the tax deduction for having a child? It's 30,000. It's not enough to raise a child. Okay, we need to really figure this out, because I just ask people, it's like, why don't you have a kid? I said, it's just too expensive. You look at the tuition and you look at my income, it does not make any sense. Okay, but before this bear fruit, it takes at least a generation. But it's something that we need to do, or else Japan is our destiny, and that's what I would worry about. The other thing, maybe, I don't know if this is being thought out as negative income tax, to encourage people to be in the middle, the middle income people, rather than just farmers and then the ultra rich. But a country actually prosper when you have a large middle income. So things like maybe negative income tax might be something that we need to think about. And the other thing which I think was mentioned earlier is we have massive FX reserves. Why don't we take the example of Geely, buy Volvo, get the technology transfer and upgrade your products, rather than doing the research and development in-house. And that will take a lot of time. So I think that would be my 2 cents. Thank you.
Next, I'd like to ask Dr. Panitan, what is your perspective on Thailand's position in the geopolitical conditions, the US and China vis-a-vis Thailand? What is your take?
I think it's very important question, and I think many speakers already raised the complications in the relations between Thailand and other countries like United States. To me, I think relationship between Thailand and China cannot be considered alone. We need to look at Thailand and the US, Thailand and Japan, Thailand and ASEAN, Thailand and Russia and India. It's a very complex engagement. This is what I call a complex engagement. You need to achieve an equilibrium, and it's not easy. And I might say almost Thailand only can achieve that. It's a Thai diplomacy way, of getting engaged with these big powers and stay away from complications or situation like others face. I think this is very unique to Thailand. This is why China welcomes Thailand back, in ASEAN after so many years, 10 years of absence, since the last summit meeting in Pattaya, and Thailand couldn't push ASEAN to achieve the equilibrium. I think this is point number one. Number two, I think Thailand can do that not only because of the bamboo way, the flexible way, but really it's a special relationship between Thailand and many countries. For example, there's a deep trust between Thailand and China that goes a long way for centuries. Of course, the official relationship began only in 1975 in June, when Ajahn Kuklit flew to shake hands with Chairman Mao's hand. That's 45 years of official relations, but the long, deeper relation goes beyond. And I'm very glad that China is back in Thailand in a big way, committed, to invest in Thailand, especially in my hometown, in the Deep South. many miles, a few miles away from Malaysia's borders. Chinese furniture factory, only recently made a headline of investing in Nong Tik Pattani, making big, sofa chairs, exporting to other countries. I think they sent 7-8 containers already, using this Muslim and Thai, hundreds of workers. This is very welcome, and I think this is is from a long, rich, deep trust among Thai and Chinese friends. The survey conducted by Australian National University and Center for Strategic International Studies in the U.S. indicated that the Thais have no or very little recollections of what the Chinese have been doing to Thailand during the communist years. In fact, that survey indicated that the communist China was trying to overthrow the Thai government. But this survey indicated that the Thai forgot all about that already. And the Chinese is a dear friend. So I think this is a special relationship because you have many positive factors overriding negative factors. You see, yes, yeah. The Thais also don't really mind zero budget tour, although it's a big problem between government to government. Kun Kobsak need to sit down and talk to the Chinese counterpart to really work on that, using a lot of police forces. The Thai have less collection of the Phoenix boat incident now, after a year passed. This is because of a strong relationship. And same goes with the Japanese who came to Ayutthaya period, and stay here and won't leave. No matter what, they will be here and continue to be here. That's a complication between Thailand, China, Japan. The railway project indicated these complications. Competitiveness between Japan and China can be felt, and Kun Kobsak can tell you more, insights on what's going on during these long negotiations. The Thai, India also have a long relations because many of our names and religions are from India, and they're coming more and more. So I think this one plus deep, rich, trust. But in the next few years, it's going to be complicated because of the influence of China in many areas, the effects of the environment in many areas, the expansion of the Chinese communities, in many key countries, and the competitiveness in terms of defense, in terms of military operations at sea. BRI is not the BRI. The Chinese have just completed a Navy operations for the first time last year. I saw that inauguration of the Chinese fleet going to the Silk Maritime route and come back to Thailand, the last port, and then go back to Beijing, Shanghai to report a success. And the Chinese made sure that Thailand is very important, the last stop. The Chinese defense minister came to talk with our defense minister, General Barit, and saying that this is very important to China to work with Thailand. And they're very happy that we will open up this port, Sattahip, very close to Nuttaporn, the U.S. main strategic base, for the Chinese. So this competitiveness will increase expectations and tensions. It's a big challenge for the Thai government to come in the next few years to handle this. It's not easy to work with giants, to work with 800-pound gorillas. But I think the Thai-Chinese associations, cultural, economic, that has been established over the years will help in the future. I think Thailand is the first country that the Chinese established cultural centers many years ago, and now expanded to include 16 education Khongju, institutes, and also many since 20 years ago, many associations that help to lessen the conflict. But the expectation will increase. I hope it will not be in the position of certain countries like Singapore or even Hong Kong, that the Chinese are thinking differently about the Chinese Singapore, the Chinese Hong Kong. The Chinese Thai is different and has a unique blend, of Thainess and become a uniqueness for allow Thailand to work with China successfully. For example, in the most difficult areas like in South China Sea, if you observed the years that Thailand coordinate activities in South China Sea, it's very successful, and the Chinese, shall I say, behave very politely, but you cannot tell Giant what to do, but over those years, Thailand are able to attract the Chinese to come in to exercise militarily, with ASEAN in Kobsak, increasingly so in humanitarian activities. With Thailand in particular also, as you know, now we three forces, Army, Navy, and Air Force, exercising with the Chinese almost every year. Strike for the Army, Blue Strike for the Navy, Falcon Strike for the Air Force. It's very, very interesting. We also exercising along the way with the Americans, and many other powers. So this is a relationship that very complicated and sensitive to change. But for Thailand, I think the equilibrium that we achieved have been done so not only by governments, but by private associations, but by many working groups, and not only at the high level, mid-level. Thai Yunnan, Thai Guangxi, Guangdong groups. These are very active in Monton, like Kun, we're talking about, very, very active. But over the years, I see more and more complications as the Chinese moving in to Southeast Asia. Some of the friends told me that ultimately, the end game, you can tell me, the Chinese really want the Americans to get out from Asia. I am not so sure it's true, but that will complicate Thailand's relations, because U.S.-Thai relations dated back since the beginning of Chakri dynasty, beginning of Bangkok period, when Edmund Robert came to Bangkok, and we bought their guns, 200 years ago, and we also helped them, in many ways. We tried to send elephants to Lincoln, and then they said, no, please, elephant may die in the cold weather, and we don't use elephant in our army. But the Americans really also have a deep-rooted relation with Thailand over the Vietnam War, Indochina wars, particularly World War II, when we declare war against the U.S., but the U.S. says, no, you are my friend, don't do that, because when we win the war, you will be with us, you see. And then Seni Pramo said, okay. And then in the end, that's a very deep trust. So that increasing competitiveness between China and Thailand. For Thailand, we need these two countries, both. We need them to be in Asia. We don't need to be one or the other, because we benefit from them both. But it's going to be difficult to encourage them to see eye to eye in certain areas, in military, in South China Sea, in trade, in certain areas. So I'm not sure what to do, but we hope that low-hanging fruits that we are offering, suggesting to these countries to do preserving environment, in South China Sea, will be attractive enough for them to begin to work. The concept for us is just to build this rail 3 kilometers first, next year, and double it to 6 kilometers another year, rather than waiting for 30 years and build nothing, like in the past. So this is low-hanging fruit that we are offering to the Chinese and the U.S. Over the years, we think that the China will learn more and more, and they reassure us that they are not aiming, to rise, violently or negatively, because in the end, it will not be beneficial to China. So let's hope that it's true. Let's hope that the American will be less and less panic. We will be more and more understanding about this rise, because to us at this time, the trouble is at the American side, as Kun Kobsak said. every day they create headlines from Twitter. Every day they say they don't agree on what they agreed upon. Every day they are just confused on what to do with China. You see, so that sends panics throughout, and that's not good for us. So we hope that the new election will produce a more equilibrium, stability, and in the end, ASEAN could be key to that stability by engaging with China, US, and others. But that is my observation. I think yes. Thank you.